and welcome back to Metropol Sports Center. My name is Nashon Owano, and we are continuing the conversation on the whole art of bodybuilding and sports law. My guest in the studio today is Mikhala Barasa, who's a fitness consultant and a sports lawyer. Mikhala, that was a very insightful session on some of the mistakes that people make in the gym. Moving a bit away from the whole conversation about the art of bodybuilding, we are going to be having a conversation about the sports law. Quickly, just before I get to Mikhala to talk about the topic of sports law, there are some things that you need to understand. Maybe sometimes you see a picture of a bodybuilder and the first question that comes to your mind is, do these people actually get a lot of money? Well, I have an answer for you. Those people make a lot of money. Now we are going to be shedding spotlight into the most prestigious, one of the most prestigious bodybuilding competitions in the world, that is Mr. Olympia. Now the following is just how the winners, how much the winners get in the competition. Now in the Mr. Olympia competition, the winner, that is going to be Mr. Olympia, takes home a total of $400,000, that is approximately 40 million. Miss Olympia takes home $50,000, that is approximately 5 million shillings. The category of 212 showdown takes home 50,000, that is 5 million shillings. The fitness Olympia takes home $50,000, that is 5 million shillings. Figure Olympia takes home $50,000, and the bikini Olympia takes home $40,000, which is an estimate of 5 million shillings and 4 million Kenya shillings respectively. And in the two last categories, that is men's physique showdown, they take home $35,000, and the women's physique showdown, the amount of money taken home is $40,000, which approximately 3.5 million shillings and 4 million shillings respectively. That's a lot of money to be won for just flexing muscles. Mikhala, there's a lot of money in bodybuilding. Are you surprised that internationally people take home a lot of money like that?
I am not surprised because I know how much the athletes take home in international competitions. Locally though, and for you, for you to qualify for Olympia is such a rigorous exercise. It's very, very intense. So they actually deserve even a little more than they make. But that is not where the bodybuilding money is at. I'll talk to you where the bodybuilding money is at.
Okay.
But here, locally, not really. Locally, my bikini category, the most I've ever made from my show is 30,000 shillings. And 30,000 shillings basically in my gym is 6 months of training.
Yeah.
I have to train for eternity, for the whole year. So that doesn't even cover the training, it doesn't cover the supplements, it doesn't cover the paying of the coach, it doesn't cover the posing suit, which is very expensive. It's this small, but it costs somewhere between $150 and $450 if you want to get a good one. It doesn't cover the shoes, it doesn't cover the tan. It doesn't cover much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting you've mentioned that. I think the sporting administrators or the governing body of bodybuilders in Kenya are definitely going to be watching this episode. And all I wanted to get from you, you've been there, you've participated in bodybuilding competition. What do you think needs to be done to ensure that we can churn out people that are participating in Mr. Olympia and other international competitions?
In my experience, bodybuilding talent in Kenya is very, very good. It's it's one of the sports that we do exceptionally well in. And I'm saying this because I have competed outside, and in an international federation of bodybuilding competition, I came second in my category, which is no mean feat. I know athletes like Evelyn Owala, Rashid Gift Issa, Shital Kotak, Ion Shafi, who have gone out and performed exceptionally well. People that go outside Kenya don't place anywhere below the top 5 in bodybuilding. That being said, athletes are putting in the work. The federation is not. Our federation is kind of defunct now. We have our wrangles, we have our problems, but we don't have an astute leadership to actually show us where we're supposed to go. And we're not even asking to be taken to the Olympia. That's too much. That should be an individual athlete's effort. We're asking for support to help us access competitions like the Arnold Classic in South Africa, 2 or 3 IFBB Diamond Cup competitions, like form a team of even 6 to 10 athletes that can go out and represent the country. Like that is all all bodybuilders want.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we can never run away from government support. Do you think the Bodybuilders Association of Kenya is getting the relevant support from the government? Because the reality is, whether we like it or not, in every conversation we have, there has to be the government support in one way or another. Even if it's not financial support, there is goodwill from the government. Do you feel that there is more needs to be done from the government side to ensure that more and more people know about the art of bodybuilding in Kenya?
Definitely, definitely. I feel like there's a competition that we just concluded maybe 3 weeks ago. It's called the Kamukunji Annual Talent Search. And the talent there, I got to judge that competition, the talent there was exceptional. And the result of this competition is the bodybuilder that's organizing it is taking people to an international natural bodybuilding competition in Romania sometime in July. Now, this is something that it's like someone has already put the cards on the table for the government and for sponsors and been like, this is what I want, this is what I've done. Where is your support? I feel like the government really does not, I'll not say care, does not think much about bodybuilding, but also our federation is not really pushing for the government to have us included in the sports that are supported by the government. So it's a give and take. Our federation is not doing enough, but also the government is doing enough. It's never doing enough for any sports people in Kenya, to be honest.
Okay, sawa. I think that's a conversation if we continue having, then we're gonna might as well get a camp and attend a bonfire and attend, so that we keep on talking about it until tomorrow. But shifting gears, Mikhala, there's a very thorny issue that most athletes are suffering with in this country or internationally. It's not only once or twice we've had situations where athletes have signed contracts without prior knowledge to what are the contents of that particular contract. I just wanted to get your take as a sports lawyer. What are some of the telltale signs that athletes can look at when they're signing contracts? Is there a way that they can tell that this contract is fishy or is not working for me, so to speak?
For me, the first issue I get with contracts, and this is something I recently dealt with, is the term of the contract. You need to know how long your sport is running. How long is your sport season? For example, let's take football, because it's a mainstream sport and everybody knows it runs for, is it 9 months? 9 to 12 months? Yeah. Whatever period a sports season runs for. You sign a 4-month contract. What happens the remaining 5 months? What do you do? Because for the first 4 months, yes, you'll play for the league. Yes, you'll be included. Yes, your allowances will be there. But what happens in the remaining 5 months? If there's a promoter or your coach or someone else involved in the contract, I usually say the main pain point of a contract usually boils down to the money. Sit down and look at the contract, or ask someone to help you with it and determine how much is your take home. Because you don't want a contract where the contract is worth 5,000 and you're taking home 500 shillings. It's not a tight situation. You're doing most of the work. So that is another thing that athletes need to be on the lookout for. But I also feel like the most disheartening part of our athletes and our young athletes is that they get a contract, they are called to a club or somewhere to go and sign a contract. They go, they sign a contract and they don't keep a copy. Nowadays, it's very easy to keep a copy of your contract. Put it in WhatsApp, put it in an email, keep it in your Google documents, like have it somewhere, send it to your friend. You can even store it in someone's Instagram DM, or, like you can store the contract literally anywhere, so that when shit hits the fan and it's time for you to look at the terms and renegotiate your terms, or there's a dispute arising, you have something to fall back on. I can't be going to the club to ask for your contract. It's actually very irresponsible of you as a young athlete. The last thing is we shy away from asking for help. The thing about Kenyans and most lawyers and everyone is we are very willing to help. It's the same thing like asking for support on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram. Go type and say, I have a new contract. Someone please help me look at it. I guarantee you there'll even be a law student on Twitter willing to help you with look at the terms of your contract.
Okay, but the interesting thing that probably for athletes who found themselves in such tricky situations, there isn't much information in terms of how they can extricate themselves from such situations. So assuming there's somebody or an athlete who's already in that sort of a legal mess, so to speak, what are some of the avenues avenues they can try to reach out to, or they can try to approach so that they can find a solution to this problem?
My first go-to solution for athletes is usually the sports tribunal. One thing people don't understand is the sports tribunal can be very harsh on athletes, but they can also act as a very loving partner, if I might put it that way, to an athlete. So if you go to the sports tribunal and tell them, I need to file a case, I need to file a complaint against my federation because of A, B, C, D, E, the sports tribunal, I guarantee you, will appoint you a lawyer pro bono and help you with your case. If you're already in murky waters and you're like, now I cannot afford, like I can't do anything, I now need to file a case and I don't have money, I don't have anything, go to the sports tribunal. They'll be able to help. The other thing I've seen athletes do is they go ahead and file a case at the tribunal, and after they file the case, they put in an application, or just tell the tribunal, the members of the tribunal, that I want you to appoint for me a pro bono lawyer. They will appoint you a pro bono lawyer, and most of the times you don't really have to pay the lawyer. You just need to show up in court and have your matter heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mikhala, the reality is that legal fees are not easy. I mean, they are not cheap, so to speak. It takes a lot. But we're having this conversation with you that it's actually much more easier to file a case in a court right now than it was before. Take us through that process, because personally, whenever I think of probably taking a legal action, or somebody else wants to take a legal action, the first thing that comes to their mind is, how do I go about it? Also, the perception that has been created in our mind is you're going to stand there for a long time, you're going to take a lot of money. But the reality is not that expensive to file a case in the court.
The thing is, what a lot of citizens and a lot of people pay for is the legal advice and the legal fees of the lawyers. And that is not cheap, I'll tell you for a fact. Hiring a lawyer might not come very cheap. But when you look at it introspectively, and if you assess your facts, and if you're someone that likes to, say, do your own thing and file your own case, it shouldn't be that expensive. Filing fee in court mostly ranges between 75 shillings to maybe, I don't know, it goes higher for bigger cases. But filing fees in court is not that expensive. Filing a complaint shouldn't be as much a hassle as the public thinks it is. And again, I reiterate, what you pay for is legal fees for your lawyer to be able to draft the document for you and give you sound legal advice. But if you don't have this money, do your research, go to court, ask your questions. And if you've decided you're going to file the case yourself anyway, you might as well ask about all the information from court and pick things up from there. So I don't think approaching dispute resolution as this big bad wolf and elephant should be the way to go. The other thing is, nowadays there's something called mediation, which again is not the most expensive thing in the world. You can get a mediator, you can get a lawyer that is a mediator, pay a little fee and have them mediate the dispute between you and your federation, or you and any other person in the sports industry that you need the dispute mediated against.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mikhala, the reality is not many people have this information. I mean, we're talking about this as well. Hey, we've spoken about a lot of things just before, prior to this show, and we were having this conversation with you that not many people have the spaces that we have in, you as a fitness consultant and a lawyer, myself as a producer and a presenter. Not people know so much about this information. Probably what needs to be done to sensitize athletes to scrutinize their contracts before they sign, because the excitement is, say for example, if I find a contract right now, say I'm going to I'm getting another contract, the excitement of signing that contract, that adrenaline is always there. So what needs to be done to sensitize people to take a more serious look at their contracts before they pen their signatures?
The first thing is athlete education, and this falls upon federations and different clubs. Educate your athletes and tell them, this is what you need to look out for in your contract. This is what, especially federations, talk to your athletes and tell them, when you're getting into a contract, look out for A, B, C, D, E. And I cannot put this squarely on federations, because as athletes we approach sports like we are ignorant people. You're a graduate, you've finished Form 4, you've done your A-levels, you've performed exceptionally well. What's preventing you from actually looking at your own contract? The other thing that athletes fail to do is, you fail to ask for a contract, which by the way is should not be happening. You can't just walk into a club and start playing. You're playing as who? It's like walking into someone's house and declaring yourself married as who? You know, you don't have any claim against such a person. So sensitization by federations and a proactive approach by athletes themselves to actually look at the documents before they start playing for any club or for any sponsor.
Okay. As we wrap up this conversation, the reality is the sporting sphere in Kenya is still being looked upon as a leisure activity, whereas internationally it's being seen as a business, as a potential employer to athletes, so to speak. What do you think, or how far do you think we are to getting to that level where everything is done professionally? Because the reality is in Kenya things are just being done, you know, like you just wake up and you say, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, you wake up and say, I don't want to do this. So how far are we in that, and what do we need to do to get to that level where we can say now the sports sphere in Kenya is a purely professional setting where somebody can get their money and make a living out of it?
I think making money from sports is mainly from sponsorships. And this is squarely on brands that want to sponsor athletes to come up and say, well, I want to sponsor Nation to play tennis for me, and I'm going to pay them this much. Athletes nowadays are proactively looking for sponsors. You go and you tell a brand, I want to represent you and I want to do ABCD. That's a good starting point. I don't know, I'd just like to mention this. I used to work for an employer that was very big on rugby. The beautiful thing about that employer is 2 of our managers were actually players in the Kenya team, and we constantly had interns from a rugby club coming to work for the company. I feel like that company was proactive enough for sports. If any other company would choose that approach, then it would elevate how people do sports and how people make a living out of sports in Kenya.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. Athletes need to present themselves as brands, and also the corporates needs to do more to support those people. As we wrap up this conversation, Mikhala, there is somebody who's watching you and is like, one day I want to be like Mikhala as a fitness consultant and as a sports lawyer. The challenge is usually to start. That's a very tough thing, you know. For me to do my leg workout, I have to think about it maybe for like 3 days. Okay, I'm not a professional athlete, but you can imagine it takes a lot to start. What does it take to be where you are, you know?
Doing simple things with stubborn consistency. That is my mantra. My approach to life, to fitness, to everything is very simple. Do simple things, do what is required of you with very stubborn consistency. Show up at the gym with stubborn consistency. A bad workout is better than a workout not done. That's also one of the things I live by. And by the way, for me, fitness and workout has become one of those things that if I don't do it in the morning, which I usually do, like today I missed my workout, I will make some time somewhere in the middle of the day to do my workout. So I'm leaving here and going straight to the gym.
Okay, so consistency is key to achieve or to get to where you want. That's the message from our guest today. That is Mikhala Barasa, who's a fitness consultant and also a sports lawyer. Well, thank you so much for tuning into Metropol Sports Center. That wraps up the conversation that we had, that we're going to be having this week. Remember, this week I promised you we're going to be doing a special edition for the bodybuilders and the fitness enthusiasts out there. Well, that's all the time that we had on Metropol Sports Center. Do wish you a fantastic weekend. See you next week, same place, same time.